Hi, I'm Amy Baldwin, and I'm here with Lori Hazard, and we're talking about. I know it's kind of early to talk about this, but we're going to talk about what to do to help prevent students from kind of failing or falling down or stumbling those first few weeks. So, just to know, and I share this with my students, I know Lori has as well. Those first assignments, especially for first year students, sometimes even juniors feel this way, can be a little bit of an eye opener in terms of, oh, they're harder than I thought, and my grade is lower than I thought. And it could be that they just flat out fail their first assignment. So, that's normal and doesn't mean that there's something wrong necessarily. Just means that they need to make some changes. But we're going to talk about things that you can tell your student to kind of keep that from happening if they follow the advice. So, what is one of the first things that you think? It's the first week of class or first couple days that the class has met. There hasn't been a quiz or a test yet or an assignment. Lori, what could students do to kind of get ahead of those opportunities?
Yeah, before I take the plunge into that, I just want to repeat what you said. It's so normal, though, right? If
Right.
students do have a failure, we really want to assure them it's normal and there's opportunity to recover so they can sort of exhale. But in order to prevent that from happening, I think when students are in class, sometimes they feel like it's hard to read the professor's expectations, or they're not sure what the professor is looking for, or they're feeling challenged by some of the content or overwhelmed by it. And what they should really feel comfortable to do, even though it can be intimidating and hard, is to utilize the professor's office hours. So on each syllabus, a professor will have their office hours posted, and professors are eager and they want the students to utilize their office hours and they're there to help. So to really encourage students to, if they are having any of those overwhelmed or challenged feelings, or um, aren't sure what the expectations are, it is a-okay to leverage those professors' office
Yeah.
hours.
And
And if they have a class conflict while the professor's office hours are posted on the syllabus, and they can't make it during that time, they can always email the professor to make an appointment for another time to be seen.
oh yeah. And you just made me think that I rarely have a student who comes in before a test and says, "Hey, this is how I've studied. Am I on the right track? This is how I'm prepared. Do you think this is going to be enough?" And I tell students all the time that is the way to go, especially if you're concerned about the class. It's a class that maybe is a little overwhelming, a little harder. It's, as you said, kind of unclear to figure out what the professor is probably going to ask them on a test. To go in and just say, here's how I've prepared, here's what I've done, here's what I know, what else would you
Mhm.
suggest? I will fall out of my chair the day that happens, that a student does that. I keep trying. And so hopefully the people who are listening to this will coach their student.
Yeah.
In how
I
to,
mean, I think students can use the buddy system too if they want to,
yeah,
right?
bring
They
a
don't have to go
friend.
alone to the professor's office hours. They could grab a friend and bring a friend with them, because
Yeah,
chances are, if they're experiencing some of those uncertainties, there's somebody else in the class that is
yeah.
too.
And to that note too, if they do have, like, so I gave a quiz today just to see where everyone was. It showed that a lot of people were not prepared as they should have been, but we're going to use it to kind of help them prepare better. But let's say that the student doesn't, a professor doesn't do that for the student, and they have a quiz and they fail that first quiz, so they know the quiz isn't going to, you know, tank their grade, but it is a good indication that they're not preparing in the way that they need to. So wouldn't you agree that when they get a failing grade on something or they miss the mark in their opinion, that also should be a time, go talk to the professor, find out what
Abs-
happened.
yeah, absolutely. And it's a time for students to reflect, right? And say, okay, did I put in the time that I should have put in? And it's also a time for them to really think about, are my high school study strategies or my study strategies from secondary school going to serve me well here? And it may be a time for them to think about, I might have to change my approach and try something different. And I think academic support centers, learning centers, whatever it's called on the particular college campus, can be a real help in that area. So in terms of, like we've talked about before, that anticipatory problem solving, if you do feel challenged in a class, know where those academic support services are and how to use them, so they're ready to do that if they do fail something.
Yeah. And the advice that I gave about going to the professor, because it can be scary at the beginning of a semester, use that same approach with tutoring. Like go and say, hey, I've got a test coming up in a week or so. This is how I've studied. What would you also suggest? And so sometimes having students tell you that, tutors tell you that can be helpful as well.
And I think again, is it called the Learning Center, the Academic Support Center? They're named so many different things on different campuses, but practically every single college and university has some kind of academic support. I think students should check out what workshops those places have too, because they might have note-taking workshops, reading comprehension workshops, time and behavior management workshops. So all different kinds of study strategies workshops that they could participate in if they're in a class where they can't keep up with the note taking or something like that. So there's so much support on campuses for students to really think about their study strategies and improving them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to add one more thing. You just made me think. Um, find a buddy. Find a buddy in the class. I always say look for somebody who has light in their eyes, who looks like they're paying attention, who nods when the usually these people are sitting up front, but not always. And befriend that person and say, hey, can I share some notes with you? I'd like to see what you captured and see if it matches what I have. Or would you like to study together? Sometimes they'll say, maybe, maybe not. But, finding that partner in class can also help kind of alleviate that fear of, am I learning what I need to learn? Am I prepared?
That's great advice. And as we've both done and taught them, first year experience classes or first year seminar classes oftentimes have academic support and study strategies instruction embedded. So students should take those classes really seriously and apply what they're learning in those classes to their college experience.
Yeah. Lots of great advice. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Always great to talk to Lori and find out what kinds of strategies we can all kind of conjure up and to help parents help students.